What I forgot to mention in my first video is that Ben's Malaysian name is Ngai, Ngai. He goes by Ben because a lot of people have problems pronouncing his name when they see it or even when he tells them what it is. Okay, so firstly, Ben and I tried to brainstorm some ideas of anything we could do that has to do with Malaysian culture here in East Lansing. And it was a little bit discouraging at first because there was not a lot of things we could come up with. I didn't know anything about Malaysian culture really, and he hasn't been here long enough to really know what to do. But eventually, we went back to food, and since there are no Malaysian places around, he settled with making a dish called laksa, which is basically noodles in a soup, kind of similar to Chinese or Japanese dishes. So I went over to his dorm and we went to the kitchen and he made laksa for us. I wasn't really sure what to do. I felt like I should help him, but I just ended up awkwardly sitting there while he was making the food and trying to talk to him. So that was a moment I felt uncomfortable. It's very much in my family when someone's cleaning or working, we don't just sit around, we usually help. And I offered, but there wasn't really that much to do. So while it was cooking, he also brought out a drink called Milo. And I had actually seen Milo before. I drank it when I was growing up in India. I know that it's popular in several Asian countries. And it had been a long time since I had it, but it tasted exactly as I remembered, which was kind of interesting, something that we could connect from his experiences and my experiences. We both kind of grew up on this stuff, and it's almost like a chocolate milk, but a little bit more bitter with the real cocoa taste versus like the super, super sweet American chocolate milk. Another moment that I had a reaction, it was both kind of his and mine because he was making the laksa on the stove and it bubbled over and spilled everywhere, making a mess. And I could tell he was embarrassed, and I was kind of embarrassed for him because he was trying so hard to make this dish for me and, made a mess. So I helped him clean it up. It was trying not to get on the hot stove and everything. And also, he brought bubble tea, which was because last time we hung out, I had mentioned that there was a really good bubble tea place right on Grand River by where we went, and I used to have bubble tea in China all the time and recommended it to him, and he ended up really liking it. So he brought bubble tea for when we hung out as well, which was really nice of him. And while we were just waiting for everything to be made, I was making conversation and I asked about his spring break. And he said that he had gone to California to meet some of his friends that he knew before. And that kind of struck me because he talked about going to California like it wasn't a big deal. And I think about some of my friends from international schools who just kind of fly all over the place to visit each other. And I think that when you're an international kid, I mean, not to categorize everyone in a giant pile, but generally if you're from overseas, then distances don't seem as great, so flying to somewhere like California is not as big of a deal to a kid whose family lives all the way across the ocean than it is to a kid who's stayed in Michigan pretty much their whole life. And then finally the laksa was done cooking and we got to try it. It was really difficult for me to try to eat the noodles without making a total mess everywhere because they are in a soup and there's a lot of broth spilling everywhere and slurping, which I know in the Chinese culture slurping is actually like a good thing because it's like a sign that you find the meal really satisfying, and also just no one thinks of it because it's so normal to eat noodles that way. I wasn't sure how that applied to the Malaysian culture though, so I tried my best not to slurp too loud. I wasn't sure I was gonna like the laksa because he warned me it would be spicy, and I do like spicy food, but only to a certain point, and if it's too much, then I can't handle it. So I was nervous, but when I tried it, I ended up really liking it. It was very good, and he did a good job making it. He said not to judge all Malaysian food on the one that he made because, of course, he was cooking in a dorm kitchen, but I thought it was pretty good, even though I don't really know and well enough to judge it, but I was glad to try something new, and I am kind of excited to learn more about his culture when I'm specifically asking questions about how it affects his regular study habits and everything. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to hanging out with him again. He's definitely a nice person to hang out with, and I'm glad that I kind of branched out for this project.